Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel and welcome back to the Skinny series. So today I'm going to be talking all about frozen meals. If you are new to my channel, hello and welcome. My name is Becca. I'm a registered dietitian and I have a bunch of skinny videos here on my channel where I basically just pick a certain food product, usually it's one that you guys request, and we just go through and analyze it from a nutrition standpoint, try and give you guys some tips on what to look for, maybe what to avoid, and whether or not the products are really, are they bad or are they not so bad? So today we're going to be talking about frozen meals. This is something that you guys have been requesting a lot. And in this video, I'm going to specifically focus on more like the healthy frozen meals like lean cuisines and SmartOnes and things like that. I'm not going to be looking at, like your typical TV dinners, mainly because they're just really not healthy choices at all. So I don't know how helpful a skinny video would be because I don't really know if anyone should be really eating those. But if you are someone who eats the healthier frozen meals, like I said, like lean cuisines, then you may find this video pretty helpful. So obviously a huge pro of frozen meals are they're super convenient because they're already prepared. You just grab them and you heat them up in a microwave and you're ready to go. And also they are portion controlled, which can be a good thing. We'll get into that a little bit later and see if that actually could just backfire or not. But yeah, so the pros would definitely just be that they are super easy and convenient and they don't take any prep time. You literally just buy the box, and obviously they are portion controlled. But there are definitely some cons as well. They are frozen foods, so we're probably going to see some preservatives or, just any kind of food additives that are going to preserve flavor, while they are frozen for a long time and then reheated. So just some certain things we want to look out for. But what we're going to be doing is just going through 4 different products. I have a lean cuisine, a SmartOne, a healthy choice, and then also an Amy's. So we're going to go through each of those 4 meals. We're going to look at the ingredients as well as the nutrition facts and see what's going on. Okay, so the very first one I'm going to be looking at is a lean cuisine, and it is the sesame chicken meal. So starting with the nutrition facts, so for one package or box, it has 330 calories, 9 grams of fat, 14 grams of protein, 25 milligrams cholesterol, so not much really at all, 650 milligrams of sodium, 48 grams of carb, 3 grams of fiber, and 15 grams of sugar. So a few things that jump out at me. 14 grams of protein is a decent amount of protein. It's not a huge amount, but it's a decent amount of protein. There is 15 grams of sugar in this meal. So sesame chicken, we all know, is sweetened, but 15 grams of sugar for only 330 calories, to me that is an excess amount of added sugar. So not really a fan of that. Also, sodium is pretty high. It's 650 milligrams. This is by no means astronomical for, one meal in a day. The average person needs about, it's recommended they have about 2,300 milligrams of sodium in a day. So 650, if this is one meal in your day, it's not so bad. But 330 calories is not a very filling meal. So it's not like you're gonna have this one square meal and be good for hours, not even close. This is not gonna keep you that full. So since I would not consider this like a full meal that's gonna keep you full for hours, and you're not gonna need like snacks and things like that in between to keep you going, I would consider that a lot of sodium because, 650 milligrams for only 330 calories when, average person, we're looking at 1,800, 2,000 calories. That's a decent amount of sodium. Moving on to the ingredients. Holy crap, can we just take in that list for a second? I'm not even gonna go through this because I'd be sitting here for like 10 minutes reading all of it. But before I even dive into these ingredients, I will say this is the most extreme of all the lean cuisines that I looked at. I picked the most extreme one just so we could see how bad it could get. A lot of the other ones, of course they still had some food additives. However, most of the ingredient lists were half of this. And maybe even less than that. So again, this is the worst one. They're not all this bad ingredient wise. A lot of these ingredients are normal things that would be found in, chicken, sesame chicken, and like some kind of noodle dish. So that's, of course we're gonna see that. However, there is a lot of other stuff as well. We've got some just different like dextrins in there, which is like a thickener. We've got some fructose, a lot of different starches, which, that's used as a thickener. That's not really a big deal. I wouldn't really worry about the starch. We've got some added soy protein, some sodium phosphate, so just a lot of additives in here. Obviously, if you were able to make this dish yourself, you wouldn't be adding in all of these extraneous additives and ingredients. So to me, that's not a great thing. Just glancing at this list is like, ooh, probably don't want to eat that. So our next one is going to be a healthy choice frozen meal, and I'm going to be looking at the rosemary chicken and sweet potatoes. So for one meal, it contains 210 calories. Holy crap, that's low. 4.5 grams of fat, 35 milligrams of cholesterol, so not a lot. 570 milligrams of sodium, 27 grams of carb, 15 grams of sugar, and 16 grams of protein. So again, off the bat, we've got a decent amount of protein, actually more protein in this than the previous one that had even more calories. 15 grams of sugar, again, which is a lot. We'll have to look in the ingredients to see if that's added sugar or if that is all from the sweet potatoes. We'll have to see. 570 milligrams of sodium, same argument as before. That's not a ridiculous amount of sodium. I mean, if you're thinking 3 square meals in a day. However, 210 calories is not a square meal for anyone. That would mean someone's eating around 600 calories a day. So obviously that is not going to happen for anyone. This is more of a snack. If anything, like 210 calories is nothing. So 570 milligrams of sodium for just that little amount of calories, again, is a lot of calories, or I'm sorry, a lot of sodium, and that's going to add up in your daily totals quickly, especially if you're eating these like all the time. Moving on to the ingredients, similar as before, obviously a lot less ingredients in this, which is a good thing. But again, we're seeing a lot of those, typical ingredients that would be found in a dish of this sort, along with a lot of additives, thickeners, stabilizers, things like that. So again, we've got some soy protein added. They're trying to bump up the protein because there's probably, for 210 calories, that's not a whole lot of chicken. So you can see they're trying to really bump up that protein, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Soy is certainly not the highest quality protein out there, but that is what it is. There's some starches for thickeners, not a big deal. I see carrageenan in here, which is a thickener that has a lot of really negative potential side effects. I personally like to avoid carrageenan. I know a lot of other people do because it's just not always necessary. You can find other products without it, so I just like to avoid it. So that's a downside that's in here. Soy lecithin, that's an emulsifier. Potassium chloride's in here. That's it's a way to kind of add like a salty flavor without actually adding salt itself. And then as we're moving down, we do see some dried cane syrup in here as part of a garlic puree, and since it's so low down on the list, it's really probably not that much. So most of that 15 grams of sugar is probably pretty much all from the sweet potatoes, which is a good thing. There does seem to be a touch of added sugar in here because we've got that dried cane syrup. However, since sweet potatoes is the first ingredient, we can assume that majority of that sugar is coming from a natural source, which is, an upside. But yeah, so again, we're seeing some normal ingredients that you would see in this typical meal. If you made it yourself, it would just be all the normal ingredients, but we are buying it packaged and frozen, so there's going to be a lot of additives as well. Okay, next we're looking at a SmartOne's meal, and we're going to be looking at a sesame chicken dish again. So for one package or box, there is 250 calories, so again, pretty low, not the lowest we've seen, but that was definitely lower than the lean cuisine, which was like 330 calories. 6 grams of fat, 15 milligrams of cholesterol, so not much. 480 milligrams of sodium, 39 grams carb, 4 grams of fiber, 10 grams of sugar, 11 grams of protein. So far, calorie-wise, this is like middle of the pack that we've seen. Still pretty low. This 250 calories does not constitute a full meal, at least in my book. 11 grams of protein is the lowest that we've seen thus far. 480 milligrams of sodium is also the lowest we've seen thus far, which is a good thing. However, again, it goes back to that same argument. It's 480 milligrams of sodium for only 250 calories. So if you just had a small snack with like almost 500 milligrams of sodium, that's a lot of sodium. So again, it can add up quickly in your day because this is just one small tiny meal. And sugar is 10 grams, which is the lowest we've seen thus far. Most of that is probably all added sugar because this is sesame chicken, but we will take a look at the ingredients. So SmartOne does not list their ingredients on their website, which is, I find so annoying. Like, let's get with the times, let's all put our ingredients and nutrition facts out there. They did have the nutrition facts, I believe, but not the ingredients. So I had to take a picture of the box in the store, and I apologize if this is really difficult to see. But again, it's the same kind of deal. We've got a lot of normal ingredients mixed with a lot of food additives that would not be there if we made this meal ourselves, obviously. So we've got a bunch of vegetables, some soy sauce. What else do we have in here? Some orange juice concentrate, that's interesting. Again, we're seeing those starches as thickeners because, these meals have sauces. Some natural flavors. Again, we're seeing some soy protein added. Soy lecithin, again, that's that emulsifier. Sugar listed the ingredients, so there's our added sugar. So not the worst ingredients in the world. There's certainly products out there that are even more processed than this. However, still have, you know, a good handful of additives in there that would not be in there if we made them ourselves, because we have to remember that these meals were prepared way in advance, then they're frozen, and then they need to be reheated and still taste good. So food companies are really going to have to manipulate what they use in order to make it taste like, you know, it wasn't just frozen for God knows how long. Okay, so the very last one we're going to be looking at is an Amy's dish, and I'm going to be looking at the Mexican casserole bowl. I do just want to say off the bat that as far as frozen meals goes, Amy's is definitely the most up with the times, since they have gluten-free options and dairy-free options, soy, nut-free options, kosher meals. So they're definitely much more inclusive to, you know, those who may have food intolerances or who may just choose to leave a certain type of food like dairy or gluten out of their diet. So that is one, you know, benefit I would say off the bat. But let's take a closer look and see what's going on. So for one bowl of this Amy's Mexican casserole, so, you know, one box or whatever, there is 380 calories. So that's the highest we've seen thus far, and in this case that's a good thing because it's the closest to an actual meal. 380 calories is still not a whole lot of calories for, you know, if this is just going to be one square meal in a day. But, you know, it's definitely the best we've seen thus far. It's going to be the most filling, and it's going to actually keep you the most satisfied and the least likely to backfire, because if you have this, you know, 200, 300 calorie meal and like that's your lunch, and it's like, well, I had my lunch today, you're gonna be starving in a couple hours, especially if you're at work and you're busy and you're doing things, or wherever you are, not at work. And then you're just gonna end up being hungry, and your blood sugar is gonna drop, and you're gonna start snacking, and you're gonna probably start eating, you know, unhealthy food. So it's important to always be fueling ourselves with balanced, you know, filling, satisfying meals that are going to give us lasting satiation, keep us full for a while, so that we can, you know, go about our days and feel good and feel fueled and satisfied. So that is definitely a huge downfall of these frozen meals in general. But luckily Amy's, you know, it's still not super high, but it is definitely the highest we've seen and the closest to a meal. So moving on, it has total fat 16 grams, 20 milligrams of cholesterol, so not much at all. Sodium is 780 milligrams, 48 grams of carb, 8 grams of fiber, 4 grams of sugar, and 12 grams of protein. So off the bat, like I've already discussed the calories, that's higher. I see that as a good thing. 780 milligrams of sodium is definitely the highest we've seen thus far. This is also the greatest volume of food, the most calories, so we do want to take that into account. However, it's still pretty high. Again, 380 calories is not what I would not consider a full square meal, so again, this can add up quickly. However, I will say that Amy's does carry a lot of their meals. They have like also a lower sodium, I think it's called light in sodium option. And the light in sodium Mexican casserole bowl, so this exact equivalent, just lower in sodium, is 380 milligrams. So that is definitely a much better amount of sodium versus 780. This only has 4 grams of sugar, which is great. That is by far the lowest that we've seen thus far. And as far as protein, there is 12 grams, which is definitely not the highest that we've seen thus far. However, it's still not, you know, it's a decent amount of protein for a smaller meal like this. And also, this doesn't have any meat in it. It's just beans, rice, veggies, and cheese, I'm pretty sure. We'll take a look at the ingredients in a second. But, you know, that's something to keep in mind. All those other ones had chicken and they had similar amounts of protein. This doesn't have any meat, and it still has almost as much protein as the chicken meals. So anyway, looking at the ingredients, we've got filtered water. All the ingredients are organic. I'm not going to say organic over and over. corn masa, black beans, Monterey Jack cheese, olives, high oleic safflower and or sunflower oil, tomato puree, onions, sweet rice flour, spices, sea salt, garlic, and cilantro. So as we can see, all normal ingredients. There is not one additive or thickener or stabilizer or emulsifier in this meal. It's all just real food, which is a beautiful thing. Now, sweet rice flour, that may be sweetened rice flour. I've never heard of that, but that may be where some of that sugar is coming from. Also, there are veggies in here. For example, tomatoes. Tomatoes have a little bit of sugar. So again, it was super low in sugar, and most of that is probably from natural sources, if not all. Maybe some from the sweet rice flour. But overall, by far, this one is the best because it is actually just a real meal that was frozen. If you made this yourself at home, this is probably the stuff that you would be adding for the most part. So again, nothing weird, no strange additives. It's just all real food that has just been frozen for our convenience. So overall, if I had to pick one of these 4 meals to consume, I would obviously, you probably already know this, would pick the Amy's one just because it was the most filling because it had the highest calories, so the closest to an actual meal, and also it had clean, normal ingredients. It didn't have any weird additives, no stabilizers, thickeners, all of that good stuff. It didn't have any of it, which I personally really like. Now, overall, just looking at frozen meals in general, should these be something that you're relying on? No, they really shouldn't. You're much better off, I mean, if possible, obviously, you know, everyone has certain time constraints, and eating one of these in a pinch I don't think is the end of the world, but relying on these for, you know, weekly meals is probably not the best for our bodies, or just, you know, it's not enough food. It's not really a solid meal by any means. Most of them are more along the lines of what I would consider a snack. So if it is possible for, instead of relying on these frozen meals and picking them up every week, to, you know, carve an hour or 2 out on the weekend or whenever you have availability and try and prep some meals yourself, you'll probably end up saving money in the long run, and also, you know, it's gonna be better for you because it's just real food. It's not any weird stuff that had to be tampered with because it's gonna be frozen for a while and then reheated. So that would be my advice if you are someone who does rely on these frozen meals. Try and switch to the Amy's brand if you absolutely cannot, you know, get rid of frozen meals in your life, but just trying to, you know, get away from them. Again, in a pinch, it's not that big of a deal, but we don't really want to be relying on these meals because they're just not the most nutritious, they're not really offering us much, they're not going to keep us full, so it's just not something that you should be, you know, relying very heavily on. So that is all I have for this video, guys. I hope that you found it helpful. If you have yet to see all of my other skinny videos, you should definitely check them out. I will leave the playlist linked above. I've done so many different things, from protein powders to bread, tomato sauce, alcohol. I mean, I've done a lot of different stuff, so you guys should definitely check out those videos if you have not already. And of course, if you have yet to subscribe to my channel, I would love for you to subscribe and just join my little family here on YouTube. It means so much to me, seriously, you have no idea. So if you enjoy my videos, I would love for you to stick around and just become part of our little family. And of course, if you haven't followed me on Instagram and Snapchat yet, you should, because I'm on there all the time and would love to connect with you guys and be friends with you on there as well as here on my channel. But that is all I have for this video. Again, hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for sticking around, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next video. Bye!